Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know, my name is Chelsea Dawn Khan. I am super excited to be here with you today. And we are going to be doing my brows, my new updated brow styling routine. So if you didn't see my last video, I will link it up here. And it was basically on how I like tweeze and shape my brows at home. So check that out. And we are going to get into this now that they are freshly, like I just finished doing them. So I know on my previous brow routine, I was using Patrick Ta, which is amazing product. And I know in that video, also, if you haven't watched, there's two of them. If you haven't watched them, I will link it here and then I'll link it there. But I know I had said in that one that I had heard a lot of talk about the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze and that there were reviews saying it wasn't strong enough. But I thought, you know, I want to try that because I know in reviews a lot of the time people just don't know how to use it properly. And I have seen so many people on YouTube use it and rave about it. So I wanted to give it a try. So I went and I picked it up and I have been using it for a few months now because I really wanted to give it a good try and see how I liked it, see how the product like wears over time. What I did notice with my Patrick Ta gel is that as you use it more, it dries out more and it starts to leave like gunky white flakes and chunks. And I'm not a super huge fan of that. So I wanted to give this a try, even though I do love that. It's just that the product dries out quicker than what I'm experiencing with this. And what I really love about this one is that it allows you a bit more to shape your brows because it's got like a very strong hold, but it's like flexible to a certain extent. Whereas with a lot of other brow products, I find like once you get your brows up, it starts drying immediately and they're just kind of going to be like stuck where they are. Same with Got to Be gel, anything like that. But I have not experienced it with this. I've been able to get like the nicest brows with this. So this new brow routine, I use the Brow Freeze. I use the actual Brow Freeze applicator. And then I use sometimes this NYX Lift and Snatch brow pen just to fill in any sparse spots that I might have. And I'm going to read to you about each of these products real quick. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze is $30 Canadian. And let me tell you, this is literally lasting me forever. Like I'm not even halfway through. So I think that for the dollar amount, it also, you're getting way better bang for your buck than with the Patrick Ta. It's lasting me way, way, way longer. So it says it is an easy to use styling wax that lifts, tames, and sculpts every hair with extreme hold. It's your secret to feathered, locked in brows. And then for the Brow Freeze applicator. So I should also say, when I first got the Brow Freeze, I did not get the applicator because I was like, I have so many of these at home. I want to try my ones at home first before I spend the money on this. But my ones at home, all of the brushes on them were way too like flexible and flimsy, and I couldn't get as much tension in my brows as what I really needed. So I thought, let me try the applicator because, you know, it was made for the Brow Freeze product. And I'm so glad that I did. It works literally 10,000 times better with this applicator. I do not regret this purchase. That's why I kept it. So this is $22 Canadian. And it says it is an ideal dual-ended spatula and spoolie brush tool designed for applying Brow Freeze styling wax with ease and precision. And yes, it fully makes it 1,000 times easier. And then the NYX Lift and Snatch brow pen says, get a lifted brow look in this pen. This flexible micro brush tip pen allows you to create thick and thin lines that actually look like hairs in real life. Tinted buildable shades allow you to go from a supernatural look to super snatched in a quick few flicks. Create a brow from nothing. Fill in sparse areas or build on top of your already snatched brows. Up to 16-hour wear, smudge resistant, transfer resistant, stay snatched. And there is like a bit of a learning curve to this, just like on the amount of pressure that you need to use, because you can get like a very thick, very dark line or very thin one as well. And just even the angles that you need to go. But once you get it figured out, it's great. So let's get started with the brow freeze. So I will also say, because I literally just freshly cut my eyebrows, that's when they're the most difficult to style, like the most difficult, because they're just short, they're just fresh, they just want to do their own thing. They're like mad that I groomed them. So wish me luck on this one, because it might not work the absolute best, but we're gonna go with it. So you can see the brow freeze is just like this clear gel. You're just gonna dip your brush in very lightly. I like to start with less product because you can always build up more. So they say to dip into it and then with this end and put it onto here and then use this, but I don't do that. I just dip directly in, but then just make sure to put the cap back on the top so that it does not dry out. So I just get a bit on there. I'm not really sure if you can see. Yeah, just like a tiny bit. And then I like to really go downwards in my brows at first, just because, you know, my brows are wild. So I want to make sure that I'm coating from every angle. And then I just start to brush up. And what I really love about this, especially when my brows are a bit longer, is I can really get like multiple different kind of looks and shapes out of this, where I can have more of that laminated look, or I can have them more natural and just fluffy looking. I don't know, like I feel like to get a super natural fluffy looking brow when they're so freshly cut probably is not going to be the easiest. But like even just how quick I did that, you can see how fast and easy it was for me to get my brow up and held and looking nice. I'm not sitting there waiting for a gel to get tacky and then like all of a sudden being like, oh my goodness, I have to hurry so much now, or anything like that, you know. I just kind of put it and they're in place. So what I do find though, I'm not gonna like glue them to my head today because Rex is really not a fan of that. But when you do that, I do find it's a bit more work because, well, for my brows, they like to unattach, in which case this end with the flat, like spatula-y side is really great to just kind of smooth them down like this. And so what I kind of like to do at this point with my brow routine is just put some in and then allow my brows to do what they want to do while I go work on the other side. Oh, and what else I should say is when my brows get really long, this just makes it so easy to put them straight up and then actually like kind of curve them so that they're a shape that you want them to be. You just drag this over the top like this, and it actually allows my brows to just lay down properly. Whereas any other brow product, I find it doesn't like curve them nicely. It arcs them into like a weird looking shape. So I just am so in love with this product. Okay, so I've got those down now into kind of the shape I want them to be. So now I'm gonna move on to the other brow. And for the second brow, I always try pick up a bit less wax because there's still some left on from the first brow. And for some reason, I always start with my right brow, probably because it's my easier brow. And I just dread doing this one that I'm currently doing. And then I always have so much product that it just wants to stick straight up and it's just more difficult to get it bushy. But that's like a user error, you know, because that's on me for always starting with the easy one first. But like, you know, when you're just dreading doing something, like I really do not enjoy doing my brows because they're just difficult. So like I have to like pep talk myself into it. But again, you can see how easy that was and how fast it was. I'm just gonna pick up a tiny bit more just for these little end bits. And then even I find, because if you watched my previous video, you know that this eyebrow is very hard for me to cut into like a nice shape. So having this brow freeze and this spoolie allows me to just kind of like, because it's never going to be a straight line. This brow always just cuts into such a nice straight line, but this one doesn't. So it allows me to just kind of like bend the hairs over into a place where I need them to be so that they look like they're a straight line, if you know what I'm saying. You can also see like, this is the hardest my brows will be to do because they're so freshly cut. And it was so easy for me to do still, like way faster than anything else that I have previously used before. Okay, so now I'm looking back at this brow and it actually feels really good. It doesn't really need any more adjustment or anything like that. If anything, I'm just gonna take this spatula-y end and I just dip like a tiny bit of gel into it. Just because I like the extra hold, and just like gently pat that over some areas. Like my ends of my brows always want to get a bit unstuck. So I just pat it over just to really make sure that they're like in place and going to be firmly held throughout the day. I don't want to do too much in this part here because it's laying so nicely as is, like you can see. And I really just like that it allows it to look hair-like, you know, because that's what it is. It should look like that. And then I'm going to take the extra leftover and put it onto this one here. And I'm just going to work in this arch of my brow a tiny bit more, which I always have to on this brow because these are the hairs that grow directly down. So they always need a bit more work and attention. And you can see on these tail ends of this one, I do use this to like push them down a tiny bit just because they just won't cut, guys, the right way. They just won't. But we have got those done now. Okay, cool. So what I will mention about this is after each use, I like to clean it really, really good and like actually get my fingernail and twist it all the way through to make sure to get all the gel off. Because I do notice that if there is a slight bit of gel residue on this from the time before, when you go back in, you might get kind of like little white not flakies, but just gunky looks. If there's any residue. So just make sure that you clean your spoolie really, really well in between each use. And in the case where that does happen, I find if you just take this little spatula tip and dip into the gel and just put it over top and kind of brush it through, it kind of like hides it a bit. And then you can also use your brow pen to go over it very lightly just to like color the color of your brows. So now for the pen part, here's the thing. I just colored my eyebrows with a new hair color that I did. Do you like it? Thanks. So I have, the two shades I have are Espresso and then Auburn. So I don't know that either of these is going to match perfectly. I think Espresso is going to be quite a bit too dark, but Auburn might be a bit too auburny. But we're going to start with the Auburn one and see how that goes. What I do sometime is just put the Auburn and then I'll put a slight, like very thin whoop of the Espresso over top if needs be. And then I always have a Q-tip on hand so that if it goes on too thick in any area, I can just blot it really fast with the Q-tip and remove some of the product. So I like to shake it first in like a downward motion for the tip of it facing down. Oh, she's a juicy one. Did you guys see that bubble? Just to make sure all the product is down there. If you store them upwards with the tip like this, then the product isn't going to be like saturating in the tip. And I'll find that I just sit there like stroking forever, hoping something comes out. And then once the product actually makes its way down, all of a sudden it's like, bah! So just keep them stored downwards with the tip facing down. And then I'll show you, you can see there is the tip of it. So it is a very like fine pen. And you can get the nicest tiny little hair-like strokes, or even just like if you're finding, like sometimes even I'll just find that certain areas of my brows don't look quite dark enough. Like they're filled in, but they don't look quite dark enough. Then I'll just dab this in those spots just to really fill it. So you can see I literally just did a few strokes just to fill in the arch of my brow there. And like for this brow, we're pretty much done now. It was super fast, super easy. This brow is always harder for me too because of the angle of my hand. Can't even talk while I do it. And what I love there, see, about these is as my brows grow out too, and I'm like too lazy to do my whole brow routine, I'll start getting like sparse patches in the bottom here, and then I'll just be able to take this and just do like tiny little hair like strokes. Like you can see here as this grows in, I always have like a bald spot there as more of these bottom hairs growing, and there too. And so then I'll just be able to like take this and just dab it in there in like a hair like stroke to really just fill it all out. I'll kind of, okay, so this one is quite dark, if you can see. So now I'll just gently kind of like tap it with my Q-tip and get some of that out. And then I'll just go in with the auburn. Just those tiny, tiny hair-like strokes that give you like a natural filled in brow kind of look. So I think that's about all I really need to do for it today, because I'm not trying to have like the most crazy, super laminated looking brows for the day. But I do think that maybe with this new hair color, I need to get a shade that's in between this auburn and this espresso, just because you can see that's like the slightest bit reddy looking in there, just the slightest bit. It's not horrible. I don't think someone on the street would be like, oh my God, what do you do? But it could be, you know, just a bit better. So that is my new updated brow routine and how I do it. I hope that you enjoyed it and were able to maybe pick up a few tips or tricks or learn something new with it today. If you did, please comment below and let me know, or let me know how you like to use your brow freeze. Oh, and okay, I don't know if this is in Canada yet or not, but I heard that e.l.f. has made a dupe product of this that is a much better price, and that it pretty much works just as good as this does. So you might want to check that out if you can find it somewhere. But comment below, let me know how you're doing your brows, what products you're loving in them, if you have tried the brow freeze, or maybe if you want to try it now coming out of this video. And please, if you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It actually helps me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And please, if you have not already, subscribe to my channel and click that bell button and hit all, because I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoy spending our time together. I think it's really fun, and I'm just so grateful to be able to be here in this now moment with you guys. So I cannot wait to see you guys on the next video. I really hope that this was helpful for you, and I love you all tons.